So everybody watching. Apparently, I talk a lot
You self-admitted it at the end
on
of
a podcast.
Blasphemy.
On a podcast.
Who are these blasphemies?
Video.
Where there are three
where we talk.
people total. Four, if
we
you
talk.
count.
So today's topic
Well,
is
Old
How to
Jamie
talk
back
to-
here.
I was older than everyone else.
older.
Actually, I'm not.
You're the youngest one in the room.
yeah, Kirk might have been the oldest. I'm gonna say he's older than me.
Kirk, Kirk's into his 50s.
yeah,
Kirk's 50?
Oh, yeah.
so.
Well, those Asian genes.
I was going to say, yeah, he's, yeah. I think they're
Shout out to Kirk. Thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah.
Go ahead. John is spearheading this episode. Hana County wasn't there.
Somebody's feelings got hurt.
I don't have feelings. I'm angry.
So that brings us right into the topic we're going to talk about, mitigating anger. Now, so yes, I openly gave Jason a hard time for dominating conversation. Oh, I just like that you openly admitted at the end of that podcast where you apologized to Kirk and said, we'll have to have you back when you have an opportunity to talk.
Yeah, sometimes I get going. It's hard to stop.
It's like you said, it's a podcast, so it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
You know, some people are like that old wagon wheel that once it starts rolling downhill,
Oh, yeah.
it's like there's no brakes.
Except I'm the youngest wagon wheel.
In this room right now.
You are.
You actually are.
Yeah.
So it's all good. Are we welcoming? Welcome back. Welcome back, John.
Thank you.
And yeah, I guess
He was on vacation in the Bahamas. He wore Speedo. It was very small. Pink.
Pink. I do like.
Do we need to go find those photos
I
on
know.
Facebook?
So
Do we need a what?
Go find those photos on Facebook?
Wow.
yeah.
No,
The Booker face.
Banned from. No, I was gone for a while. I've been busy with work and with travel softball. So we
You don't
had
look like a softballer to me.
3 travel tournaments over the past 3 weekends with my daughter. So out of town, busy with work. Kind of how it rolls.
Oh, we've been running and gunning because we had like the big boss come and tour all the neighborhoods and all of that stuff, and so everybody's running around. Yeah, dude, we're painting paint.
Look busy, the boss is coming.
Yeah, we're painting paint at this point, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
they came through, and it was like, okay, what are they gonna do? And they're like, we're running late. We got to go. Good job. And they took off, and I was like, yes. Awesome.
Relaxation time.
That was good. But we did a lot.
And I keep taking day trips to Houston and Dallas. So it's fun.
No.
Yeah.
Do you listen to podcasts?
Day trips to
I do.
Dallas.
I do listen to podcasts when
Okay.
I'm driving.
So you left this
I like
morning
hear
to
you
Dallas?
talk.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
3 hours of Jason. Wait, so you drove to Dallas this morning and
Yeah.
then drove back?
Yeah. Yeah, it was 3 hours there, 5 hours back today. So you
5.
talk about anger. I could have had some anger in that situation, but I
Yeah,
didn't.
that'll test your Jesus.
Yeah, you get some good long podcasts in that time. It's not bad. But actually,
You don't have to
sometimes
say it.
Huh?
You don't have to say it.
Say what?
Yeah, the long podcast because I won't shut up.
no, I didn't need to say that, but
Not you. I was talking to him.
It goes out without being said, though. That's no, I'm joking, man.
That's the way it
But
works.
actually, when I'm in like those day trip modes and stuff like that, I find I get more accomplished than anything. I get all my calls out of the way.
Hey, you got all
Even
that time.
Emails, which is probably not a good thing. While
That's
you're
8.
driving.
That's 8 hours of drive. Like, what did you get there, eat lunch with somebody, and turn around and leave?
And I left early in the morning. I left at like 5:30.
Okay.
Not
So I
even
got
morning.
there at 8:30, and I left there at what 2:30, and got back here. It was 5 hours back, 4 hours back. So it's not bad. But yeah,
Wow. I
a
agree.
couple good meetings.
It's not bad if you like root canals and
Man,
prostate exam.
I don't. Look, we travel a lot with the softball, and I actually enjoy the drive time.
Sometimes
like it's nice because I do listen to podcasts, long form conversation, and it's an opportunity to do it. But speaking of the anger mitigation that we're talking about, I have found that if I put a podcast in whenever I'm driving to or from work, I'm not in a hurry to get there or get home because I'm enjoying what I'm listening to, right?
Right.
So it's like sit in traffic, I'm fine. Whenever before, I'm looking for every little nook and cranny to work my way through. So it's a stress reliever too.
Yeah, and it is relaxing. I can't complain. When I used to work and have my business in Illinois, I'd be in the car putting 40,000 miles on my car a year, 40 to 50 as an outside salesman, and shout out to all those guys that do that out there. I mean, they're road warriors. But even if I do it in spurts, like one time we were driving back home to go visit family in Chicago, and I did 17 hours straight driving. My wife won't let me do that anymore, though. So there was some anger coming from that end. Maybe hallucination from my daughter. She didn't know what was going on. But don't do those things. But yeah,
That's way too much.
Doesn't bother me.
Books and podcasts, I think. I reached my library limit of 4 books by the 15th. They only let you check out 4 books a month, and I hit 4 by the 15th just from sitting in the car, doing surveillance, driving. Like,
You know who else does that? My 75-year-old dad.
thank you.
Dude,
He's a wise man.
So we've always said John is an old soul, right?
I started just buying them because like using, I think it was like Audible, and they give you a credit every month, and I'm like, sweet. And then after like the first 4 books, I was like, okay, now I'm searching what is the longest book I can buy. And like, but it was definitely, I used to get so irritated driving and people were dumb. And I just kind of stumbled on that. And I was like, I'm stuck in traffic for 2 hours. Sweet.
Yeah, it takes it. It literally takes the stress away.
Listening.
Yeah.
But you want a long book? Empire of the Summer Moon. Like I think that thing is close to
fly fishing.
No, it's about the Comanches in this exact area that we're in right now, and Quanah Parker, who was the last war chief of the Comanche, and he was half white, half Indian because his mom was kidnapped. And given to the chief of the Comanche, and it talks about the creation of the Texas Rangers.
She's in my family.
So I just found out.
Parker.
That the girl that my son is dating, his mom is a part of that family.
She was married to. She's not bloodline, but she was married to somebody in our family.
Okay.
And that I think whoever the person that she was murdered or kidnapped from. I'll have to look it back up.
Yeah, it was a family. I mean, the Comanches, we were pretty violent too.
She didn't want to come back.
No, she didn't because they rescued her. Mm-hmm. She, as a baby, she was kidnapped, and she grew up in the Comanche culture. And then whenever they came in and they rescued her and brought her back, she fought, escaped, and went back to the Comanche tribes because that was her culture at that point because she was a baby whenever she was kidnapped.
Yeah, so she had no recollection of anything.
Nope.
Wow.
It's actually a really interesting book. It's long, and there are like some really dry parts, but it talks about the creation of the Texas Rangers because the Comanche were destroying the army because they had mastered the horse and fighting off a horseback. And it talks about the Texas Rangers, how they came in, talks about the creation of the Colt Walker 5-shot pistol.
Walker Texas Ranger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there actually is one, and that's who the Colt Walker is named after. It's a fun book, but I want to say it's like
Walker Texas Ranger,
20 hours or something.
Yeah, Rogan talks about that book all the time.
Oh, it's ridiculous how long it is.
No. That's half.
Huh?
That's half.
Yeah, that doesn't seem
of the
like a
books
long
I was
book.
finding.
Really?
Half.
Let me see if I can find it.
I will say this though: you talk about anger. Audible can make me a madman. That's wild, man. The Audible credits, I don't even know how you use them all. What? And then if you download them or buy a bunch of books, download them. Audible, if you don't keep renewing your credits, takes all those books away. I'm like, how's that even fair? That don't work.
They never took mine away.
I think they went through an Amazon check, but I think they went through a whole class action thing.
Took
about
mine
it.
away.
It seemed long. It's 15 hours and 9 minutes. So.
Yeah. Okay. So one time, there's like just 3 Stephen King books alone that are over 40 hours.
Really?
Yes. I have 8 credits still
Today we're
that I
talking
haven't
about
even
truth
used.
and fiction.
And 231
I like it. Let's
books
roll with it.
in my library. Yeah.
and fiction.
Apparently we are talking about literature. Which, I mean, actually, it was one of the topics. We're going to segue into a different topic and talk about how angry we are with literature.
With Audible.
Like,
Start with Audible and go down the list.
but it was actually, we have a big list of topics that we kind of choose what we want to talk about. And one of them was one of them had to do with literature. And we had talked about, tagging movies onto that because I think men develop parts of their persona
Well, you're Edward Scissorhands, right?
based on, oh yes, that's exactly who I look like and model my life after. But especially guys drawn to action movies and war movies and those kind of things. And we generate these little kind of codes of, yeah, that's the kind of guy I want to be. And sometimes it's not the healthiest, development that we go through, but it's also a place where society kind of sets a standard or a scope or whatever about what real men are, what manly men are, what sensitive men are, and so I think it's an easy kind of crossover topic as far as what do y'all think? What do y'all think about
I
that?
can't even tell you what went through my mind right there. So what? I'm like the Notebook dude. He's like the Punisher.
This dude is Johnny Notebook. This is
I
Johnny
will openly
Notebook.
admit that is one of my favorite movies. I have no problem admitting that.
And he's wearing his pink Speedo watching it.
I have it on under here.
Yeah, I know.
It's beautiful.
I saw it when you leaned
pretty.
over. I mean, I didn't know it was a tea bag, but
No, I'm more the Forrest Gump guy, huh? Life is like a box of chocolates.
I may not be a smart man, Jenny,
Jenny.
but I know what love is.
So you're saying it's unhealthy to be like John Wick?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think there's some
I
things
picture myself.
I look at some of those movies like that, and especially the ones that kind of resonate with different parts of your life, and you kind of set these standards at times, and it's like, at what point do I react, and how do I react, and what are some principles and morals? And we'll use literature, we'll use media like that as kind of like a measuring stick for these things that we think about ourselves or how we view ourselves or those kind of things. And so but a lot of times it's 90% of, if not more, of the men that are portrayed in novels and books and movies and TV, you've either got, what's the Married with Children, like the idiot dad.
Al Bundy.
Yeah. Homer Simpson, they're just completely lost.
Yeah, I just heard somebody talking about that word. Name a TV show right now that has a family in it where the father is a stand-up, type of guy, like the moral, do-right type of dad. Now, you can name all of them from when we were growing up because there were a lot. But now
Except for the Cosby Show.
he was in the Cosby Show, maybe not in real life. Like the only one that I could think of whenever I heard them talking about that was Last Man Standing. Last Man Standing seems to be the only one that I can think of that portrays a dad who's not a goofball, who doesn't get run around by his kids, who doesn't look like an idiot at work, who's stumbling around the house trying to figure things out. Like it's sad that the way that a father figure is portrayed in a lot of shows these days it's negative.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Because I mean, the goal at times is either to emasculate or discredit or remove any, foundation of men being who they're supposed to be. And it's not controlling. It's not dominating. It's not those things. But we do have a role and a place and a purpose. And it doesn't mean that all of the principles that are portrayed in some of these things, some are very noble, very honorable, very, a lot of character and integrity and those kind of things. And, and sometimes it's like, man, that the way that they handled a situation, and I'm trying to think of some specifics. I just told you I got 231 books in my Audible. But it's like
they apparently don't delete from you, but me, it's okay.
Well, you shouldn't drive so much.
Anger.
I'm trying to teach you a lesson.
It's all good. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, I'm like, I'm good. I'm just trying to get us on a thought.
Uh-oh.
Jeff
Has a thought.
Jeff has a
I'm
thought.
messing around.
What is it?
That's what we should do. We should put it here, and when you and I want to talk, we just turn it on.
There's one right there for you.
That's it.
Oh, here we go.
We're trying to get you angry. That's what it is.
I've decided I'm doing a solo project next. But it's all going to be...
Rather than raise our hands.
It's going to be in American Sign Language. It'll be a terrible podcast. YouTube, you may enjoy it.
So this is just our comedic episode. So throw digs. But no, it was funny though. You mentioned a show one that I liked when it first came out, which I thought was a real. I mean, the storyline kind of went south after a little while. This Is Us, where that dad. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was a good representative, and it's funny because I went to high school with Justin Hartley, so it was like we were a little engaged in that because I'm like, dude, I know that guy, But even the characters in that show at first had realistic storylines, and I think that's the thing about just when you think about movies, because it's funny. Brooke will look at me because I'll get into wacky sci-fi action, like X-Men and stuff like that. She's like, dude, that's like completely unbelievable. Why would you watch that? And I'm like, because it's just that whole thought of it's fun, Not that I want to be that guy.
The movies that she watches are unbelievable too. Like, do couples really go to bed looking perfect and cuddle all night and wake up with makeup on? Like, no,
Yeah.
It's like
my hair's messed up every morning.
Yes, it is.
So I will veg out in some like action with Kyler, and he'll sit there and smile at the TV just like me. And she's like looking at us. She's like, "You're both cut from the same cloth." And I'm like, "Yeah," because we like to see like embattled and the hero go after it, and that's how God is depicted in our lives too, right? Well, he's like our big hero.
There's that part where, it's who we're meant to be.
Right.
We're meant to be protectors. We're meant to be the warriors. We're meant to be the hunters, not the gatherers.
Yeah.
And it's not like that's what I was referencing, the chickens.
The gatherer.
Yeah.
Gathering your chickens.
It's
farming.
It's not that one is better than the other. It's just a role. And so we're drawn as men to, those depictions of those things. And it's like, why do we love action movies? Why do we love that type of fantasy superhero type? Because in all of us, there's a desire to save the day in some form or fashion, whether it be small, whether it be, a large thing. That's how we're built. It's how we're made. And so we're drawn to those things, but then it's like they'll take a character that's great and he comes out and he's, all of the things that a man should be, and then the next thing you know, he's like, cheating on his wife, and he's doing this kind of stuff and that kind of stuff to justify whatever. And it's like, oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
there you go.
But yeah, man, you get things that just pop in minds, like Last of the Mohicans.
That's a great movie.
Man, that's a great movie. The Matrix. I sit there from a biblical sense. I'll look at that movie and be like, I'll sit in like our discipleship studies and stuff like that, and I'll say, when you get there, when you understand the word and you're in it, it's like the Matrix, right? The fiery arrows.
There's a whole like.
I'm not having an original thought here.
The Matrix has been compared to the story of Christ so many times.
No.
You got Neo, the letters of Neo are one. Okay. You have Trinity in it.
Yeah.
You've got all of these references.
Morpheus.
Yeah.
You've got all of these references
in
about
the Bible.
And was it the third one where he like got shot up and then he rose up?
Yeah.
And then he came back down?
Yeah, that was the third one.
There are a ton of references. There's like a whole multiple pages making
There's a
references.
word
saying
for
I
that,
never looked
but
that
I can't.
up, but-
I can't remember what
But
it is.
just from the standpoint of, like, at some point, like, the book slows it down for you enough where you're seeing those darts and arrows come at you. And it's like almost like I always see it as like you're moving around the bullets like he is, and that's how that movie just catches me. And like, it's actually probably become one of my favorite movies based on that's how I see our fight against evil realistically going. I guess from a movie sense, I don't know. That's what I want to be defined as Matrix today.
You want to be Neo?
I'm Neo.
Okay, you be Neo.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Thank you, Dad.
You're the Notebook. There,
I'm on top of the microphone today.
it's like I just I think what's crazy about even that kind of thought is there's so many stories like that even in the Bible
Right.
of great men that do stupid things.
David.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean,
There's so many. There's so many, and the thing that Hollywood or a lot of literature or a lot of things leave out is any type of that redeeming grace that you get as a believer. It's like, no, these people are just kind of broken. They have some outstanding moral code or like those kind of things, but it's like it's left broken.
right.
And so we begin to, it's like we can internalize and justify that it's okay to be broken like that, to have all these deficiencies, as long as I'm good enough with the other stuff, then it's like it cancels them out. And so as long as you got more pluses than minuses, you're okay.
Have you ever seen the movie Hacksaw Ridge?
Yeah.
So do you know what that one's about?
Yeah.
I've seen Chainsaw Massacre.
No, not Chainsaw Massacre. Hacksaw Ridge,
Going
it's a
south.
war story, and it's about a guy that went into the military. He was, I think they call it a conscientious objector. Objector. He's a
So he carried
pacifist.
no weapon.
Oh, yeah.
He refused
I
to carry,
remember
and
that.
they kept trying to kick him out to get him to quit. And then they end up deploying and going to war. And they have this huge battle, and like they're all stranded up, and there's a huge, like a cliff that drops down, and all the people at the bottom of the cliff know is that these men keep getting lowered. Like hundreds of wounded warriors are getting lowered down. And the person that's doing it is this guy that refused to pick up a weapon, that refused to cause harm to anybody, but he kept going back in and grabbing bodies, and he was getting shot up while doing it, wounded big time, and is bringing all these people back and lowering them down. And as soon as he lowers them down, boom, he goes back in and grabs another body. And it's kind of interesting because his choices in being a conscientious objector, like, they don't fit what Hollywood typically deems being a man, right?
Yeah.
He didn't want to cause harm to anybody else, but he wanted to serve his country.
Right.
And then at the end, because they build it up in the beginning, like, they're trying to get rid of him. He's not a part of us. And then at the end, he's the hero because he didn't have to have a weapon in his hand, and he was the one that wasn't going to let anybody be left behind. And he kept going back and kept going back and kept going back. Like, I remember,
He was a medic.
Yeah, I mean, it was an amazing movie. And I thought an awesome portrayal of, like, starting off of this guy isn't worth anything. Like, he's not a man, because that's what they were trying to say about him when they were kicking him out. And then everybody held him as a high regarded hero at the end because what he had, nobody else had, and he didn't have to have a weapon in his hand to do it, and he brought all those men back.
Yeah.
So
I think it is great too because it cancels out like the fallacy that we all have to be the Conan superhero type. It's like that manly, masculine muscles on our nostrils kind of thing.
And at the end, he was that, even though he was this little scrawny guy, in the movie. But I mean, he was that guy,
I tried to flare up my nostrils there to see.
Did you?
Flare him. No.
I don't know, man. The nose. Gotta lift some nose weights. But no.
That being said, what would you say is a significant, whether it's a piece of literature, not counting the Bible, because that should be a given at this point, whether it's literature or movie, that you looked at and said, I want to shape a part of my life that way?
Good question.
So I'll go straight to, I've worked for another company back in the day, Wells Fargo. Everybody knows the company. And they used to push, like, if you're going to move up in this organization, you're going to develop as a leader. And they used to have us read books on a monthly basis and present in conference calls to our team and, like, lead conference. It was a great little training program, actually great altogether. And I read Good to Great, which is funny because it's a leadership book. But one thing that stuck with me, and I bring it into everything I go into in life, is every single person you come in contact with has a position on the bus. It's biblical too, because everybody has a purpose, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just fine. It's not taking where they're at. It's finding the right spot for them to sit. Right? Rosa Parks started somewhere, right? Mm-hmm. So where does it go? And then her definition moved on, and it was like, man, things from that book really stuck with me. And I read that in my 20s. And that's before I was even saved in my life. But it pointed me into the direction of finding that. So, leadership developmental books, even developmental speak through podcasts and different things, and whatever conspiracy theories we hear sometimes develop us. But that was one book. And then there's an author named Patrick Lencioni that does a bunch of books for corporate and worked with NFL teams and silos, politics, and turf wars, like how to get basically organizations working together, where also recognize that a lot of them work in opposition of each other based on what they're trying to consider are the same objectives, but unconsciously they're pushing for themselves to be self-promoted instead of working in unity to the same prize that they need to get to. And that's where we got to say not Savage Surf, but what's the last one? We talk about it all the time.
Stream ownership.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Jocko and
Yeah.
Leaf.
Yeah, and talking about how Navy SEALs approach it. Like, so, I mean,
Okay, for a twist of lime now. What about fiction?
That's what I thought you were talking
Yeah.
about.
That's exactly what I was talking about. But
Jeff
he
went all
he
deep
went
on
into
us.
like,
yeah. But here's the fun
oh,
thing.
like
I don't read a ton.
Movie.
Of
You can
fiction.
use a movie.
you can use a movie.
If it's Iron Man, just say Iron Man.
Oh man. Well, no,
Plus one for Iron Man.
yeah.
What'd you say?
Plus one for Iron Man.
See, I'm a Wolverine guy. Like,
Okay.
I like getting in there with the bare bones that can't break and just going to tear stuff up. And
Elon Musk is Tony Stark, right?
There,
would
there,
think
there
this
could be an
Is there-
argument.
Is there a real life Tony Stark? Right?
There could be an argument for that.
but it's something about being maybe because I'm not hairy and don't have a endo metal skeleton. I don't know. That's where I'm like him and Beast. We're always my two guys. I'm like, all right, if I'm gonna go do something, I want to get messy. So that's
I'm
it.
racking my brain and I cannot think.
Wow. That's a moment. I'll give you a point.
Oh, is it my turn to talk?
I don't know.
That's
I
the
have
point.
the light. It actually made me think of a book, but it's nothing I don't think I ever based my life on.
No, yeah.
Made me think of Lord of the Flies.
Oh man,
It's better than Children of the Corn.
talk about that was an interesting.
Seen that too.
How old? I don't even remember how old I was when they made me read that in school. Lord of the Flies.
That was like 8th grade.
I was-
9th grade.
Yeah.
Freaked me out.
Yeah.
Or the pig head out there, or something like the hog head.
Do you remember the movie?
Yeah.
Did you ever see the movie? I thought it was great.
Hey, you talked about a movie when Kirk was here. I listened to it. I think that movie you were talking about, I've seen that movie.
Omen.
No, The Mark of the Beast is the one where they bring you.
Yeah, I remember looking that up. I saw
That
last-
movie messed me
That's
up.
what I'm saying.
I was
like,
sitting there
"Hey."
listening to the podcast and I was like, God, no, that movie. That movie
it
tormented me as a
freaked me out.
child.
He had some bad dreams that night.
And it was horribly made.
Yeah,
like
it was good.
horribly low budget, horribly made. But it was just, it was terrifying, man.
was.
It's like you either take 666, the mark of the beast, on your forehead, or we're chopping your head off.
Yeah.
You know,
And they had just like whole families and people dragging their kids and all kind of stuff. And I was like, now I'm like, I don't know how that's supposed to bring me closer to Jesus at all.
Right.
But it was like, it was terrifying as a child.
right? I mean, it was the people left behind, you know, the ones that didn't go in the initial rapture that were forced to make a choice, guillotine or a tattoo on your forehead. Ah, that was a messed up movie, dude.
Yeah, it was. And I remember it pretty vividly. It was crazy.
Ways to get your point across.
Did you find your
I still can't think of. There's so many movies that they're like attributes of, you know, the main character that I like. I just don't know that there's like one in particular.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Like Jeff came up with so many.
So many zero.
He's avid reader.
Avid.
My problem is I read primarily fiction,
Yeah.
but you know, there's something about the guys that go from pretty worthless at the beginning to, you know, discovering all these things about themselves and
Yeah.
and those kind of things. It's like there's areas where you kind of relate. I've read there's a John Samford series. It's called the Prey series, and no, not praying, but Prey, and it has this detective in it. They're like detective novels, and the guy's name is Lucas Davenport, and of course it's like he's great and does all the, you know, solves all the cases, but how he gets there is sometimes like,
Questionable.
yeah, not exactly within the law, and you know, pursues different ladies early on because he's single at the time. And I mean, there's several books now. Like, I don't know, there's probably like 30 books. And I've read a bunch of them. But I always like, you know, it's like that passion to see not justice like in the punishment kind of thing, but it's like the pursuit of truth in all of these kind of instances. And, you know, he's solving all these different kind of cases, but it's like those kind of things where it's like that baseline of where you won't go past kind of thing. And so like those novels always kind of stuck in my head as like he's gritty and he's raw, and at the same time it's like everybody knows where he stands, you know what I mean? And so even in that sense, it's like, okay, so as a believer, as a man, as a dad, as a husband, all those things, it's not like I want to be gritty with my wife, but there's an aspect of everybody should know where I stand. Everybody should know what my principles are, where my lines are, and, you know, not because of physical violence or whatever.
Without putting a sign in your front yard that says all the things that you stand for.
Why not do that? I mean, everybody should have a sign in their yard.
Like that?
You've never seen all the signs in the yards of I believe in science, I believe in... Oh God.
No, I just see...
You got to put a sign in your front yard.
No soliciting,
like you said,
and we don't dial 911.
That's a beautiful.
You shouldn't have to
point.
tell. Yeah, you shouldn't have to tell people what you stand for. They should know it by your actions and the way that you act.
Yeah, because you're better.
It's a virtue signaling sign.
Yeah, you don't need a sign in your front
Different.
yard.
He wasn't listening.
No, he wasn't listening. Now.
What'd you say?
I said, yeah, because you're better.
I try to be.
Every day.
What do you think? Do you think it's something?
So there's this movie called The Prodigal Son.
Oh, wow. No, I'm not going to get started on Prodigal Son again.
But I think John's got an idea. You go. Shoot.
No, you bring up a good point with those books. And there's a series that I've been listening to. You'd probably actually appreciate it. The author's Vince Flynn. And his character that all of his books, and it's like 25 books or something like that he has written. But the main character is Mitch Rapp, and he's a CIA operative, and he's that guy that everybody knows where he stands.
Yeah.
Like he is loyal to his country, but he's also that guy whenever there's a big problem that needs to be fixed, it's basically hand it over to Mitch. Don't ask questions.
Yeah.
Don't look. Don't watch. Just let him give you the results that you wanted.
Right.
And he goes off and he does his business. But it's kind of cool because, you know, he is that gritty, hardcore dude that gets things done. But at the same time, you know, in this series, you know, he finds a girl that he falls in love with. They get married, you know. Spoilers. She gets pregnant. Something horrible happens to her, which then
gets fixed.
Right. And then
they live happily ever after.
And then another woman, comes into his life that he falls in love with. And it's just, it shows like reality, you know. Yeah. It's not just this hardcore get things done guy. Like they show like his true feelings.
Do you know if they got the Cliff Notes version of that?
The Cliff Notes version.
You guys know Cliff Notes?
Yes, I know what Cliff Notes are. Why would you want a Cliff Note version of a novel that you enjoy? I think he's trying to say that we need Cliff Notes.
No, I think because, like I said, what is a book? And he's like, there's this book called How to Sell a Seller of Selling Something of Something.
Well, it's funny because we could pull up our Audibles, right? And I don't have a single fiction book on it. I'm losing.
I told you I have 231 books.
I have
they're all fiction.
I have like 40.
Every single one of them.
I rarely read fiction as well.
Yeah, I probably have an even split because I do enjoy like the extreme ownership and different ones about, like I could probably.
Well, yeah, self-development and well, So I think, oh
I
man,
definitely don't.
who
have
wrote Da
any,
Vinci
so-
Code? I wrote. That's one of the last
That-
books
In
I
a
read.
pit with a lion on a snowy day.
I
Which
did
somebody
read that.
made me.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that is. I actually know that book. That's a good one.
Yeah. Da Vinci Code was. I actually probably have it. I probably have all of those books.
Well, I read that one and then the next one in that series, and I think that's the last fiction book I read. So that had
That was
to be
Dan Brown?
Years, yeah, Dan
There
Brown
you
years
go.
ago, man.
So,
So
man behind the scenes.
wow, I got old. I stopped reading fiction.
Almost as fast as young Jamie.
Well,
I see the shirt.
I'm sporting it. I need to get one that says old JMS.
Yeah. Old James.
That's what my wife tells me.
There you go.
It's my
Reminded me of Run DMC. That's some old. That's
They
when
ripped- they
start
totally-
breakdancing
That's
again.
what they're ripping it off
They
of.
ripped it off on purpose because the one Rogan did says JRE what EXP or
I
something.
think so.
And then Jamie's like, "Well, I'm going to make one too." Then we made
Yeah.
an old Jamie one.
Cool.
I just need to make one.
I got lost.
Da Vinci Code.
Not part of books.
Yeah.
We went to
what book are
old
we
school
on?
hip hop.
I do remember Run DMC, but
My,
So, what-
Adidas.
what do you think? What do you like? Because there's something in that, like in that character, and you know the same one I was talking about in those detective novels, where the outcome's the only thing that matters. Mm-hmm. How you get there's kind of trivial, and yet we know that we can't really live that way. And
Right.
Not in a sense
Yeah.
of just breaking the
Which
law
is why-
and being super violent. And
Which
those
is
kind of
why it's
things,
fun
but
to
I
read
mean,
those
like,
books.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what makes it enjoyable, is because you can go into that fiction world and kind of live out that life that is being portrayed in that book, you know, and not have the consequences if you were to do that in the real world, you know.
Interesting.
But don't think that there aren't guys like that
No, I'm
out
sure
there
they
actually
are, but
doing that.
They, in the end, you know, they'll have to choose either the mark of the beast or guillotine or. No,
Oh,
that's terrible.
That got dark.
Yeah.
Well, James sent us the photo of the movie from 1986 when it came
Which
out.
one was that?
You looked it up?
Mark of the Beast.
Yeah, and I was like,
I texted
I
it to you.
definitely have never seen that. Yeah,
I sent it to the group.
I don't remember that. I never saw like the cover of it.
man,
No, I
that's
just
kinda
saw
creepy.
the internals.
Dude,
and
I'm
it
telling
was
you, it was.
like all of these. There's been a big rise in the movie called The Mark of the Beast. I
Oh, this isn't it.
That's not it.
No.
Yeah, I thought I saw a female on the front. Of
No,
it.
this
Definitely
says
not it.
students inadvertently capture an assassination on videotape.
Oh,
so that's definitely not it.
You said it was from your childhood.
Yeah.
How old are you?
How old am I?
44? 46?
44.
How old were you when you saw it?
I blocked out a lot of stuff.
I don't blame you. Me too.
This is not that episode.
I probably,
How much do you remember?
I'm 46, and I was probably somewhere between 10 and
I was
12.
gonna say I think I was between like 8 and 10, maybe 10 and 12. Also
34
somewhere around in there.
So, I mean, it would be
It's
around that
1990.
time. It
Yeah.
would be 86, 87, maybe 88 that it came out.
Yeah.
Very traumatic. We don't have
they,
to look up.
They might
We
have
don't-
scrubbed it from IMDb.
Well, I don't even think that. Honestly, it might be like
A B-side
No,
movie.
I think it was probably like a black market film or something that only got handed out to extreme charismatic
That's the truth.
people.
I think because we were going
That's
to
why
an
growing up
Assembly
Catholic
of God
garden.
church at the time.
Oh, man.
Yeah, they sent you a movie and a Shroud of Turin
Yeah.
and
See, the benefits of growing
holy
up
water.
Catholic, right?
Right.
yeah, y'all didn't.
Well,
get
that was
this
right
movie.
after
Man,
my
I just
Catholic
said like
days.
I
so-
just said like 10 Hail Marys and I was good. So
No, it was extreme. it really was. It was extreme, and you know, it's like there was no love in the message. There was
No.
no grace.
I think
there
it was the
no,
Omen. I looked this up last week. I think
was
it's the
definite-
Omen.
It was
the-
not The Omen.
It's not the Omen.
The Omen 3.
No.
No.
Hold on.
Listen, I grew up watching
find it. I'm
horror
gonna find it.
movies.
We're fishers.
You're talking to
of
the
men.
two guys that watched it. It was
Yeah,
not The
it
Omen.
was not The Omen.
Fishers of men, not
probably saw
movies.
Damien Omen 2 was 1978.
No, it was not. We're gonna call this episode "Not the Omen."
Not The Omen.
Wow. I think we're already at time.
We're getting close to kind of. Actually, we are there. To kind of close this out, I think like if I was gonna put a point on the mindless rambling we've done for this episode, there's so many depictions of what a man is supposed to be.
Right.
There's so many ideas, there's so many concepts that get thrown out there, whether it's Hollywood, whether it's, social media, whether it's literature, whether, whatever. I mean, even the Bible you have your Samsons and you have your Davids and you have your Gideons and you have your, you have Jesus, obviously. And at the end of it all, while some of these movies made significant impact. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, look at the conviction, look at the passion, look at the drive, look at the motivation, look at, all of these kind of things. And yet we really have a better source to base how we should model out our lives. And I'm not knocking literature or film or anything like that, but I think if more people would dig into the stories, would dig into, it's like, David and Goliath. I know David and Goliath. Really read it. Really dig in. Really don't do it as a chore or have to, but do it with that same enjoyment of... yes, Jeff.
So, getting into that, like, I think you're staring at this direction, like character flaws, and even in the stories of the Bible, just like humanity, we have character flaws, and what people, and even Christianity, even religious people, like, have a tendency to steer people to try and depict it as perfection instead of seeing the storyline and the plot of the story, and it unfolds and how it unfolds with those character flaws that are still built in, but God still used each one of those people in those stories, right, in the Bible. And just to kind of wrap that up a little bit is just saying, hey, we could all relate to specific things based on every character flaw we've had in our lives, and we've talked about that here a little bit too. But it ties it.
Of mine.
It ties it into the story. I mean, you've already died and rose again 8 times. We're waiting for the 9th life to come through. But that's. I didn't want to interrupt, but that's like I thought you were going.
But you
there.
did.
I did totally.
Nah, he
I had a light bulb moment.
light bulbed me. In closing, John, take it away.
I was just going to say, with everything wrapping up, I think... I was, but he beat me to it. He saw me messing with it and was like, no, I'm just going to hand it to him.
That was my plan from the beginning.
I did not buy these for that purpose. They just happened to work
I have
out.
no idea why they're there, but I see they're being...
It's perfect.
They're being used against me.
They're not being used against you. Yeah, they are. I would say, back to the character that I identify with, I find the older that I get, I identify more with Rambo and First Blood. Just leave me alone.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Just let me be. Let me do my thing. Don't mess with me.
No, I got it.
Let me enjoy myself. You know how many people died in that first Rambo?
A whole lot.
1.
Yeah.
Now you look at the other ones. That's why I say First Blood.
Dude, I thought he was
peaceful
killing
man.
people left and right.
Not in First Blood.
How many died in
just running,
Expendables?
running from.
Like 300 and something, probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
That or Gran Torino.
Yeah.
Get off my lawn.
That's.
Yeah. I think that all
I'm
just
not
comes
even
with
going
age.
to talk. That'll be a whole different episode. Which
Talladega Nights.
old man do you most want to be like?
Ooh, that's a good episode.
From film. Like when you get old and crotchety like that. And I have a couple picked out. But
I still think
Yeah.
of Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau, grumpy old men.
We
still
had a
think
drought
of
last year.
Cocoon.
And John was spray painting his lawn because
no, I go to
Wilford
Lonesome
Brimley.
Dove.
Oh,
I go to
Wilford
Lonesome
Brimley,
Dove.
50 years old in Cocoon.
okay.
Yeah.
Who?
Man,
Who?
I think so.
Either.
Wow.
I am
Dang.
definitely more of the I can't think of either one of their names. I'm definitely more of not the Tommy Lee Jones character.
Yeah, that's
Robert Duvall.
Duvall, but I'm trying to think of the name. There's a
it's-
cowboy hat named after it.
It's Call and
You're gonna make me look it up. Why?
what's the other guy's name?
From what?
Lonesome Dove.
Lonesome Dove.
Oh,
It's the
white-haired guy, right?
Woodrow Call and what's the other
Gus.
name? Gus. What's his last
Augustus
name?
McRae.
Yeah.
Yeah,
McRae.
it's Gus.
Yep. Yeah. But anyway,
It's great.
to close out, just to give you a bit of trivia, in case you're collecting strange trivia, facts about us, what is your all-time favorite movie? I don't know why you have so much trouble with these questions.
That's a hard
Because
one,
I've
too.
got so many that I love. I mean,
Man,
I can tell you in like the top of the list is Shawshank Redemption. There's Tombstone.
Yeah, great.
I said it earlier. It's the original Rambo, First Blood,
That's good.
The Notebook,
I'm a Sandlot guy,
Sandlot.
Sandlot,
comedies.
favorite movie?
dude.
Okay.
That's my childhood. 100%. Love it.
Wow.
Just fun like that. And we played baseball in a lot in the middle of our block.
Yeah.
And I drove balls through neighbors' windows many a times. And yeah, man, it just reminds me of childhood.
Sandlot.
And had the neighborhood pool. I don't know if we had the lifeguards like that though.
Did you fake drowning?
I did not. But yeah. One of my favorites.
Well, good.
Simple.
All right.
Simple.
Do you have just one?
I just wanted to put y'all out there.
Yeah.
It's Big Trouble in Little China.
Classic. Classic.
It is my absolute all-time
That's
favorite
Snake
movie.
Blisson, isn't it?
No,
Snake Blisson is
Escape from LA.
That's Escape.
Yeah, no, this
Is it Kurt Russell?
Yes,
Yeah.
but his character's
Yeah.
name is.
They're both Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am. No. Don't do that.
Well-
hey, we are. You know what old Jack Burton used to say? That's the character's name.
Yeah.
Stop
Yes.
looking it up. It's Jack Burton. Pork Chop Express.
There you go.
Hey, if you tuned in with us and stuck around this long, we definitely appreciate it. We have every social media thing you could possibly think of, I'm pretty sure. And you can catch us on Spotify. You can catch us on YouTube. We're even on the TikTok. And so we're so glad you tuned in with us.
Big
We're
Trouble
glad to
in
have John back with us. And Jeff, as always. And we even had old James chiming in.
Mixing it up.
My name is Jason. Thanks for hanging out with us on Close Cover Podcast.
Wiki.